Yeah, recording started. So you can go ahead.
Vijay Lakshmi, can you hear me? Vijay Lakshmi, can you hear me? Hi, Vijay Lakshmi, can you hear me?
It's going in and off. Ask
Mm.
her to switch off all other video
Okay, I'll just text.
or Facebook or whatever got opened on her tab, on her phone. All that will take bandwidth.
I'll just text her and tell her that.
Yeah, okay. I think we can start with what.
Yeah.
Yeah, she can start. I think it's already 6.
Hello. Hi, Vijay Lakshmi, can you hear me? Is this better? Is the voice better? Vijay Lakshmi, can you hear me? So I don't think she can hear me. I'm trying to call her to her.
No, she's.
I texted her also. Hi, Vijay Lakshmi, can you hear me? Okay, I think I should probably call her on her phone.
Hmm. I think you should go ahead.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I can hear.
Okay. All right. So good evening and welcome to the first session on Materia Medica. So far we have conducted on organon and philosophy, and today we have a speaker, Vijay Lakshmi Swain, who will be taking us through the various topics on Materia Medica. This is one of the most important topics, most important subjects in homeopathy, the knowledge of which will carry us through to our practice, and without which we really are not complete homeopaths. So today we decided to start with how to study Materia Medica, which is very helpful for students of all the years, as well as for doctors who are just about to start their practice. So without any further delay, I'll hand over the mic to Vijay Lakshmi and let her start. Start, Vijay Lakshmi.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. So let's start. How to study Mathematica? Well, it is very important to know what is Mathematica first. Homeopathic Mathematica is a book that contains the effect of drugs, which has been thoroughly proved upon healthy human beings of both sex, all age groups, and different constitution, and also includes some clinical experiences. Then comes sources of Mathematica. The first source of Mathematica is proving on healthy human beings. So healthy human beings are the source of all the symptoms that has come into our Mathematica. It is the main and topmost source of our Mathematica. The second source is the chemical
Uh,
source.
Vijay Lakshmi, sorry, I have to interrupt. The slides are not visible. Can you just click on them, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And also, can you hold your microphone closer to your mouth because the voice is not very loud?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please.
Ma'am, is it visible now? Hello? Ma'am, is it visible now?
Uh,
Where?
no,
No,
it's
it is. No, it is not visible. I apologize for the delay. We're just trying to get the slides to appear on the screen. There. Yeah. Carry on, please.
Ma'am, is it visible?
Yes, now it is visible.
So the sources
Yeah,
of
just
Mathematica.
talk into your microphone so that we can all hear your voice. Yeah,
Okay, ma'am.
carry on.
The first source of Mathematica is proving on healthy human being. It is the main and the topmost source of our Mathematica. Proving on healthy human beings the symptom that brings add into our Mathematica. The second source is chemical source, basing on the properties of chemicals and minerals or the reaction of the chemical substance. The symptoms are added to our Mathematica. The third source is toxicological sources. The toxicological sources includes poison, venoms of different animals and plant substances. Basing on their effects of toxic substance, the symptoms are added to our Mathematica. Then the fourth source is empirical or historical sources, the ancient sources. Parts of plants like stem, roots, flowers, etc., are used as medicine for ancient ages due to its healing properties. At that time, Hippocrates as well as other physicians used these substances to cure or relieve the disease. So, basing on these medicinal facts, and its reason of origin, Hahnemann verified and proved various drug substances, after which it came to a Mathematica as characteristic symptoms. The source books of Mathematica. There are 7 source books of Mathematica, homeopathic Mathematica. Number 1, Fragmenta de Viribus Medicamentorum Positivisti in Sano Corpore Human Observatis. It is written by Samuel Hahnemann. Then Mathematica Pura by Samuel Hahnemann. Chronic Diseases by Samuel Hahnemann. Encyclopedia of Pure Mathematica by T.F. Allen. The Guiding symptoms of our Materia Medica by C. Herring, a Cyclopedia of Drug Pathogency by Richard Hughes and J.P. Dukes, a Manual of Pharmacodynamics by Richard Hughes. What books are for our examination as well as study reference? The basic and simple that is used by all the beginners are Allen's Keynote, Mathematica by William Borick, the New Manual of Mathematica by William Borick, Mathematica by S.K. Dubé, and Mathematica by S.R. Patak. The fundamental in-depth which require more knowledge to go into first are Lecture on Mathematica by J.P. Kent, Essence of Mathematica by George Putolpus, a Synoptic Key of Mathematica by C.M. Bogart, and Bogle Boninghusen's Characteristics Mathematica. There are many more follow. Why should we read Mathematica? Reading Mathematica is a responsibility of a homeopathic student. We should read Mathematica not only for the purpose of exam, but for our future practical experience, and to know the depth of a drug and to understand it better. Memorizing only the symptoms will not help, but by understanding each and every drug, it will be in our brain for life. Beneficial for both examination and practical as well. Then, for examination purpose, studying Mathematica is very important as it is a mark-taking subject. Here, one can get maximum marks as compared to other subjects. In Mathematica, there is no need of any explanations or unnecessary elaboration of anything. Just to the point answer to a question gets you nice marks. So, reading Mathematica is must for examination as well as future practice. Systematic method to study Mathematica. Mathematica is a vast subject. There are many drugs, and each drugs have many symptoms and characters to remember and understand. So Mathematica should be studied daily, one drug a day, or at least one particular character or general character a day. Mathematica need daily revision of drugs that is already read. Without revision or practice of Mathematica, one tend to forget the characteristic symptoms of the drugs or get confused with the symptoms of the other medicine because there are many medicines which have similar symptoms. So one might mix up with different medicines and get confused. Mathematica should be studied in a methodical manner, step by step, to understand every aspect of the drug deeply. Step by step understanding of Mathematica. To study Mathematica and understand it better includes to study the names, the prover, family, and kingdom of the drug, the sphere of action of the drug, constitutions, causation or elements of the drug, mental generals, physical generals, modalities, concomitants, and particulars. The name and common names, the prover name, the source of the drug, family of the drug, as well as the kingdom is very important for reference. Kingdom and family can guide you through the common features of the drug that comes under drug. Sphere of action of a drug is very important for a practical point of view. One should have the knowledge of the location, that is the organ or body part where the particular drug acts better or act effectively, curing or relieving the person. Constitution. Constitution of a drug, it is very important as learning the symptom of a drug. The constitution of a drug tells us what kind of person is associated with the characters of the drug, the physical build of that person, his nature, the thermal reactions, how the drug reacts to heat or cold, the miasmatic background of the drug, the diathesis, temperaments, etc. It is an important aspect during case taking. Causation or elements from. One should know the causative factors that are involved in producing elements or disease in that drug. It may be environmental causes, chemical causes, mental factors. Environmental causes include weather from heat or cold from sun, etc. Chemical sources includes like food poisoning, allergies, or any kind of chemicals that is affected from. Then mental factors include like anger, vexation, insults, or any disappointments, etc. Mental generals. Mental general, it is the mental general of the drug. How is the drug reacting mentally in an individual? Like if the person is joyful, is melancholy, introverted, or angry. The individual's psychology speaks more than his physical symptoms. It is also difficult to understand a person's emotions. but it is important for a homeopath to understand a patient's state of mind in order to determine his actions or reactions. During case taking, the mental symptoms are very important to know the individuals better and administer a remedy. During case taking, the peculiar uncommon mental characters are most focused on rather than common ones. So mental general are the most important things to study in Materia to understand the drug thoroughly and individualize a person during case taking. The physical generals. It is the characters that are produced in the body that is externally visible to the physician. How is the drug reacting physically in an individual? Like pain, thirst, sleep, desire, aversion, discharges, etc. These are all physical symptoms. The physical characters are important to identify a disease through outwardly seen symptoms or differentiate between two similar disease conditions.
Similar disease condition.
Differentiating between
Differentiating between simple
headache and migraine
headache
headache,
and migraine headache,
back pain or back pain due
back
to
pain or
terminal
back pain due
diseases.
to terminal disease.
General modalities.
General modalities.
Aggravation and ameliorations.
Aggravation and
Aggravation are the
ameliorations.
factors
Aggravation are the
that makes
factors
the patient worse
that
in
makes
any
the patient
situation or
worse in
disease.
any
That is
situation or
increasing the
disease.
symptoms
That is
during the
increasing
disease
the symptoms
condition.
during the disease
Am-
condition. Am-
Amelioration are the
Amelioration
factors
are
that
the
relieves
factors
the patient from a
relieves the
disease
patient from a
condition,
disease.
that is lessens the symptom which makes the patient feels better.
Lessens the symptom
One should have
makes the
a
patient feels
thorough
better.
knowledge of what
One
is
should have
aggravating
one
the
should have a
factors
thorough
and
knowledge of what is
ameliorating
aggravating the
factors
and
of any drug.
ameliorating factors
They are
of any
very
drug.
important in order to
They are very
individualize
important
one
in
drug
order to
from another, and
individualize
reduce
one drug from
confusion
another
when
and reduce
studying multiple
confusion when
drugs.
studying
Concomitants. These are the peculiar uncommon characteristic symptom that is distinct in a particular drug. These are the must to study and by heart as they help the most in individualizing a drug from another drug. Only by a single concomitant symptom one can relate to the drug which is being referred and can be prescribed to an individual to cure or relieve. These are very important for viva examination as well. Relation. How does a drug react to other drugs? How does it work with each other? Complementary drugs. Medicine that complements the action of the first one when the previous one is no longer acting or effective. Arsenic is complementary to sulfur as well as rock stocks. When the curative action of rock stocks or sulfur is
prospects
no
of
longer
sulfur.
acting or no longer effective, then arsenic can be given, where arsenic will continue the curative action and relieve it or cure it. Compatible or follows well. Drugs that follows the previous drug effectively, they can work with each other and compatible with each other, like arnica, aconite, apis, belladonna, and brine. Aconite can follow well. Arnica can follow well. Aconite, apis, bryonia, belladonna. They can run together. They can run parallel with each other and follow well by and follow well with. Inimical and incompatible. Two very similar
Two very
drugs do not
similar
follow
drugs do
well.
not follow
The
well.
drugs are so
The drugs are
identical that they do not follow one another. Avoid usage. Like Apis and Rostox. Apis and Rostox are incompatible. They cannot work well and they will produce side effects which should be avoided. So, and causticum carbovate or causticum phosphorus. They are inimical drugs and should be avoided or avoid the usage. Antidotes, the drug which modify the effects of a wrongly selected remedy or potency. A gelsemium antidotes MACOS. When while case taking, if MACOS is given and it is proved as a wrong selection and has produced side effects, gelsemium can be given to antidote the negative effects of the side effects of MACOS. Sympona antidotes Hepburcel the same way. Camphor is the most important general antidote in the vegetable kingdom. Collateral drugs or congeners belonging to the same family run parallels with each other. Example, chelidonium, opium, and they, they belong to the same family and they are similar and they run parallel with each other. Ethusa and conium are also collateral or congener drugs. Similar drugs suggested for comparison due to similarity but not too similar. If they are too similar, they will act inimical. They will not be compatible with each other. But similar drugs are compatible with each other. like Noxform and Ignatia, Arnica with aconite and arsenic, etc. Arnica is compatible with many drugs. Concordant. Concordant drugs are similar drugs with dissimilar origin. They are similar with each other, but they belong to other family or kingdom. Example: Aesculus hippocampus and Mercurius. Calibicromicum, Spongia, and Magica. Only after studying and understanding the constitution, congestion, mental and physical symptoms and modalities, one should or can proceed to the particular symptoms. Particular characters. These are the characters that are produced in particular body part, organ or organ system. The particular symptoms are important for viva examination and short notes. Particular symptoms. Particular symptoms are studied in the same methodical manner as the entire drug in the following heading. Causation, mode of onset or timing, as in fever or cough, then location, sensation, character, modalities, and concomitants. If, like, for example, the headache, what are the causation of headache, how the headache has appeared in your body, then the mode of onset or timing, when is the headache coming, in the evening or in the night, etc. Location, where the headache has started, sensation, characters, etc. Particulars are very important to study in order to have a detailed knowledge of the effective action of a certain drug in a particular area or body part or particular organ system. The particular symptoms that are important and worth studying first can be determined from the sphere of actions section of a drug. Example: cactus for cardiovascular. In cactus, in the sphere of action section, it has been written that it acts better in cardiac as well as cardiovascular system. Then berberis or cantharis for urinary affection. Gelsemium for brain and spinal cord. Noxform for GI tract disorders. For exam purpose, making notes while studying is very helpful for better remembering and recollection during exam. Refer books of various authors for better guidance and deep understanding of the drug through various points of view. This is important for the exam as well as clinical practice. Studying Medica should not be limited for examination only. Medica is very important for our future. Making list of 10-year question papers of your university to determine which drugs are important and what to study better during examination is very important. The 10 years question gives you a view of which drug is for long question and which are meant for short. Accordingly, you can study them to avoid wastage of time. Drug pictures should be written according to the same manner as you study, like the causation, the causation, the constitution, the mental general, physical general, the particulars, concomitants, amelioration, aggravation, etc. Comparison of drugs should be written side by side in the same way you write the particular symptoms. For viva examination, keynote symptoms, constitutions, the mental generals, particulars, and concomitants are most important to study. Discussing and studying a drug with a friend helps better understanding and quick learning. And at last, to avoid confusion and better remembering a drug, thorough and daily revision is essential. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Vijay Lakshmi. Your notes were very helpful because there's a lot of explanation on how to study Materia Medica and what format. And also, you have provided your contact details in case anybody wants to ask anything later. So, yes, Materia Medica is an important topic and it serves two purposes. The reason you should study one is obviously for your exams. And secondly, also, it has to be applied for those who choose to practice homeopathy after their college. Anybody who has doubts, if you want us to repeat any topic, if you want to ask anything further on Materia Medica, please do so. It's a short and sweet presentation, so we're open to a lot of discussion now. And do come forward with your questions, your queries, your doubts. I'm happy to answer all of them. It's a subject that we don't take seriously in the first couple of years of BHMS. And then we realize that we should have studied a little more when we start our homeopathic practice. Materia Medica is a wonderful subject. It was one of my favorite subjects in college. because I enjoyed studying the various constitutions. I enjoyed reading and learning and observing various human constitutions. So applying that theoretical knowledge to your practice turned out to be really interesting and exciting. And it only gets better with experience. When you listen to various doctors, when you listen to various lectures, when you watch and you try to treat various patients, you only get better and better. So anybody who has doubts, anybody who has some questions, please come forward. I'll be happy to answer all of them. Are you all students or any of you are doctors also? You can reply and you can chat with me in the chat box down there. That way I can take up one person at a time. Yes. So very, very important questions. How to remember the medicine? It's very difficult to retain the symptoms. How to memorize the drugs? So the very first thing I have to tell you is please don't memorize it. Please understand it. Yes, there are some things that you have to buy hard. You have no option. You have to know the name of the prover. You have to know the name of the family. You have to know its common name. From an exam point of view, there's no understanding in that. You have to buy hard. But as far as studying the drug is concerned, Vijay Lakshmi, can you just give me the format, the part where you said name, prover, that particular slide? Can you put on? Yeah. Once you go to that slide, I will tell you people. The people who asked me the questions, Gopal and Shreya, which year are you in?
Ma'am,
Third year. Okay. What about Gopal? Second year. Very good. So not in final year then. Okay. So when you start studying a drug, start with the very first thing, the name, the prover, the source. Materia Medica is so amazing that we have sources from so many kingdoms, plant kingdom, animal kingdom, chemical kingdom, mineral kingdom, and of course we have no swords and sarcodes. And the reason we have so many sources is because there is something called a doctrine of signature in homeopathy that we don't find in any other system of medicine. It's a wonderful doctrine, it's a wonderful theory, a principle that we follow. If you understand that, see, the cardinal principle of homeopathy tells you the single, simple, similar, law of similars, law of minimum, and there is doctrine of signature. So Hahnemann discovered this. Actually, it was discovered by somebody else, and Hahnemann brought it forth. The reason that we choose and we follow doctrine of signature is because it helps you identify the similarium in a patient and you can match a drug to that. So when you understand, when you study a drug, try to use that knowledge to locate and to identify that constitution in the patient. So once you know the name and the common name, the prover, the source of the drug, the family of the drug, as well as the kingdom, move on to the sphere of action. So let's take an example. When you have pulsatilla, it is a plant. It looks a certain way. It's a pretty flower and it grows in the mountains. It is subjected to wind. So sometimes it sways this way, sometimes it sways that way. Now think of a patient who resembles that constitution, both physically and move on to mentally, and try to match the two. Once you do understand that, try to have a picture of pulsatilla in your mind. At the same time, try to have a picture of sulfur in your mind. Sulfur in its natural form or in its crude form is a poison. So if you take sulfur, what will happen to you? You'll start losing hair. You'll have all sorts of skin eruptions. So see what happens to you when you take sulfur or sulfur as a chemical. The same conditions happen as a drug also when you prove the drug or when you employ it for your therapeutic use. So try to understand the drug, try to understand the constitution of the drug, and then slowly things will fall into place. Things will make sense to you. Just don't buy heart. Don't say, okay, sulfur is a ragged philosopher, so okay, that's how the constitution is. You've not understood anything. Try to understand first. Try to understand the nature of the source of the drug. Once you do that, you will be able to understand and relate to the constitution of the drug. Okay. What is the next question? So it's not about by-hearting, it's about understanding the constitution of the drug itself, the source of the drug, and then move on to understanding mental and physical generals. Yes. And don't by heart every symptom. Don't by heart every symptom. You have specific symptoms. and you can apply in your therapeutic use. For example, in lachesis, I'll be explaining with a lot of examples so that you people are able to understand it retail. For example, in lachesis, the patient cannot stand constriction of clothing. So they feel like there is a band-like sensation. That's like, for example, the neck. They cannot wear tight clothing. So that is applicable in all spheres, whether it is the cardiovascular or whether it is the female reproductive organs or whether it is the skin or whether it is head complaints. Everywhere the patient will feel a sense of constriction externally and a lump or something blocking internally. At the same time, they will be all their discharges or all their complaints will have that bluish reddish discoloration. That is because lachesis is a poison. I mean, the extract from the lachesis snake is a poison. So that is the effect it will have on the body in the crude form. So you're using the same thing to treat in conditions where there are bluish reddish discolorations. So try to relate in that sense. Okay. Bhavika has asked, in skin diseases, which mental general is taken? Okay, that's a very you can't just use that one statement and take the entire case. You have to take the history of the patient. Skin diseases can have an underlying cause or it could just be of external causes. And if you see, every organ has a related mental illness. For example, anxiety, nervousness, anticipation before an event lead to stomach upsets, can lead to diarrhea, can lead to acidity. So, so skin again is an organ which protects the underlying organs, and skin is also responsible for excretion. That is, it takes out toxins through sweat and through its pores. So think of it like mental general. Don't ask any leading questions, but just think that skin is meant for getting out all the toxins from the body. So if somebody has, I'm just giving an example, I'm not saying that is the only answer, but if somebody has any built up emotions which they're not able to release, so ask them, slowly ask them that what is your history, what do you like, have you had any events or incidents. You cannot take any one single mental general. You have to take the whole history of the patient and find what could have led to that skin disease. Again, a thorough case taking is important. Saili is asked a question. After learning many remedies, it gets so confusing to remember proper symptoms of some remedy. What to do to avoid this type of confusion? Very good question, because we have one remedy for many complaints and many remedies for one complaint. So you have differentiating factors like the modalities, concomitants, and PQRS symptoms. For example, urinary complaints, you have Cantharis, you have Berberis vulgaris, you have Sarsaparilla, you have Lycopodium. But suppose the patient says, Doctor, my urine looks reddish in color, or I'm having trouble in the afternoon time. So, what remedy can you think of? You could even type your answer. Let's make this interactive. I want you people to also join the discussion with me. What remedy will you think of? Exactly. Thanks, Bhavika. Okay, perfect. Lycopodium. Okay, so that's how you differentiate. Take a PQRS symptom and take a couple of symptoms that will help you differentiate. It's not necessary. Sometimes you can even have left-sided complaints in a lycopodium case. Don't just choose one remedy to eliminate, one symptom to eliminate. Just choose something that is a positive finding, not a negative finding. So if you can see that there is a red sand in the urine, or if it is an afternoon aggravation, you can say yes, lycopodium. But if you suppose you see that it is left-sided at the same time, don't worry about it. It will still work. It's only an example I'm giving you. So you have to understand the modalities. Yes, it is not easy to remember 400 remedies, but as you read and as you compare drugs, that too, when there are drugs with similar complaints or with similar spheres of action, you have to compare and you have to understand. For that, you have a very good book, Comparative Materia Medica by Farrington. Go through them. Please don't only depend on Dubé. Dubé is okay only for your first year exams. As you proceed, as you progress to higher classes, start reading better and more detailed books like Borick, Kent. As you grow a little, progress a little further, you can even read Vitulkas. It's a little abstract. It's like reading a story, but it helps you retain. Some of the authors like Catherine Coulter, Edward Whitmont, and George Vitulka's give a lot of abstract explanation on drugs. Like they explain that the spheres of arsenic using an example saying that arsenic is a perfectionist. Arsenic wants perfection in everything they do. That's why they are fastidious. That is why they look at the time, they look at the hour. That's why so much of anxiety, so much of thinking, so much of perfection. So everything they do is along that plane. If you look at the complaints also, there'll be a specific time, there will be a specific modality, there will be a specific periodicity. So that's how you relate. Keep reading your Materia Medicas. Don't just stick to Dubey. Dubey is very limited. Dubey is all right to answer your first year questions, not beyond that. Okay. Ashish is asking, is any reference to understand character and mind by comparing the plant and the plant kingdom remedy? I'm sorry, Ashish. I don't think I understood your question. Can you just clarify a little more? Oh, I think you mean that if you understand the nature and the characteristics of the plant source, then we'll be able to understand the remedy. Is that what you're saying? Ashish, if you don't mind, just clarify this, then I can answer the question. In the meantime, I'll just move to the next question till Ashish gives me that answer. Or I'll just answer it. Yeah, so like I gave the example of pulsatilla. Again, study the remedies. Like lycopodium is a spore. A spore is like a fungus. In its natural state, lycopodium, a spore or a lycopodium is not reactive. Unless and until you crush the spores and you extract the medicinal substance, it will not do anything. If you just eat the spore by itself, it's not going to cause any poisoning in your body. Unlike rustox, which is a poison ivy. And if you see a poison ivy, if by mistake you go and touch it or you fall on it, your full body will be covered in eruptions with a lot of irritability, with a lot of itching, with a lot of burning. If you notice, all the rustox skin complaints are similar to the rustox poisoning itself in the natural form. Same way, lycopodium does not affect you, does not react in its natural form. The same way, if you notice a lycopodium patient, a person belonging to a lycopodium constitution, they will not react. They will always hesitate to make the first move. You have to push them. You have to give them the chance. You have to, encourage them. A lyco will always hesitate. Their first move, they will always hesitate. But once they start the activity, they do very well in it. For example, a lawyer who has an important case to fight, he will first be very nervous. He'll not feel like starting. Maybe starting trouble is probably the worst thing for him. Once he starts, he'll present the case so well that he can even win it. So it's similar. The characteristic is similar to the lycopodium spore itself. Only when you stimulate it and only when you activate it will it work very well. Ashish, I hope that clears your doubt. Yeah, I hope so. If not, let me know. Next question is, ma'am, is it very important to remember whether the drug is chilly or hot? I mean, is it important while prescribing? So if it stands out, if the patient tells you clearly, yes, I can't stand the cold, I like the warmth, even in summer, I like to wear a thick blanket or I like to cover my feet, then it is important. If don't persist and don't poke the patient to the point where you're forcing them to answer. If they don't answer it immediately or if they don't have a clear answer, just leave it at that. It's not very relevant. It just helps you in eliminating, drugs. It divides it into two. So you can sometimes leave out some of the drugs which are not chilly or which are not hot. But that is not the most important criteria in selecting a remedy. Okay, next question. Ma'am, say about inimical relation. Okay. Vijay Lakshmi, can we have the slide on inimical and uh,
Yes, ma'am.
concomitant, I mean, what complementary remedies?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, here we are. So inimical or incompatible. So that there are two very similar drugs that do not follow well. Drugs are so identical that they don't follow one another. Avoid usage. So you find some remedies which are very similar in their presentation. Take the example of Epis and Rustox. Both have, both their presentations are such. For example, let's take their skin complaints. where there is intense itching, there is a lot of redness of the localized part, and there is voluptuous itching, which is not better from scratching. And there is burning, stinging complaints. But at the same time, Apis is a hot patient, Rustox is a chilly patient. Apis has a lot of swelling and induration and localized swelling, whereas Rustox may or may not have. So there are some obvious similarities and there are some obvious differences. So these drugs are inimical. Inimical means nothing. It means only opposite. The meaning of inimical is they're opposite to each other in their action. So if you give one and then you follow the other one after that, it will only add trouble to the patient's health because you're making two opposite forces clash inside the body. So that is not good for the body. The body doesn't know who to react to after that. See, it has to take the effect of the natural disease agent and the artificial disease agent. If both the artificial disease agents are at conflict with each other, then the body cannot get better. It can only get worse. Or you might find some new symptoms cropping up which were not there before. That is the meaning of inimical. These things, these small things you need to keep in mind. You should be careful as to what you prescribe the second time. A good list of these remedies like complementary, compatible, inimical are all available in Borix Materia Medica. Please do have a look and please do keep in mind at least common remedies, which ones complement each other, which ones are inimical to each other. Okay, Bhavika is asking in acute cases also, please explain. Was that your question on the skin complaints? Yeah, correct. So in acute diseases, you don't have to worry too much about mental complaints. It's not always about, if it's an acute complaint, just take the presenting complaints, just take physical generals. Usually you'll find that in acute complaints, you don't have to dig too deep. Just the presenting complaints will point to a remedy and it's quite straightforward. So you can prescribe the remedy that is pointing to the presenting chief complaint itself with the modalities and the concomitants and the location and sensation. So you don't have to worry too much about mental sphere and you don't have to worry too much about the cause, the miasm at that point. The main job is to bring patient relief. So if you can do that, then you've done a good job. Okay, what is the next question? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, there's one more question. Mom, are there any books explaining the similarities between the source and the way the drugs act, like the way you explained pulsatilla and sulfur? Okay, so once you understand so today you all are very lucky because you have easy access to the internet, to Wikipedia, to smartphones. So if you have a drug in front of you, you can just go and read about the drug itself, the source itself, about sulfur, about pulsatilla, about nux vomica, get an idea about it on Wikipedia itself. Uh, Once you read about it, try to create your own picture. It's not difficult. Once you understand the constitution of pulsatilla, the flower, or colchicum, the flower, or sulfur, the element, try to relate those complaints. Try to understand the effect of sulfur on the body as in its natural state or in its crude form, and then go and read about sulfur, the drug. As far as the sources of books concerned are there, I think Boric has a little bit of explanation at the beginning. And I think for some constitutional remedies, you have Vitholkas, you have Catherine Coulter. I can just type it down here for you all. Just go through these authors. I'm sorry if there's a bit of a rush. We have to close our lecture soon because there is another session coming up after this. But I'll share my email ID. If there are any more doubts, if there are any more questions, you can all write to me and we can talk about it. You can even talk to Vijay Lakshmi about it. The way we studied, say, 10 years ago, was that we would read the source of the remedy on the internet itself and try to relate the two. Of the source books, Herring is a very good book because the symptoms that are recorded are very straightforward, very easy to understand, nothing elaborate. So do go ahead. So these are the authors that explain the Constitution very well in relation to their sources. Okay. Let what? Okay, one more question. Last question, then we'll have to close down. What if the presenting complaint is because of some mental troubles? So, if it is because of some mental troubles, take the detailed history of the patient, take their past history, their life events, life space, try to find out what particular event or what particular phase in their life would have led to these troubles. Remember that again, head to toe, you must understand that there is each organ or is susceptible to a certain mental condition because of its function. So, like I gave the example, mind is full of thoughts, brain is full of thoughts. So, think of the complaints that are related to that. Heart is to do with a lot of, I know it sounds filmy, but heartbreak or because of failure in something that could have caused a lot of disappointment in the patient. Again, skin is, if there is a lot of suppression, skin or respiratory complaints can come up. Again, yeah, gastric complaints, anxiety, yeah, sorry, acidity and heartburn and diarrhea can occur because of anxiety, nervousness, anticipation before an event. Giving the example of argentum nitricum. So there are a lot of examples. You have to keep reading and you have to keep relating. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, in acute cases too. Acute cases, you don't have to think too much. Think more of the presenting complaint and the physical generals. That should give you a good idea. Let me just share my email ID so that if there are any more doubts, you people can write to me. Vijay Lakshmi, can you share your email ID also? Let them contact either of us.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, this is my email ID. Please make a note. If anybody wants any more questions or any more doubts cleared, we can talk about it. Materia Medica is a very interesting subject. And one of my seniors in college had told me that this is your bread and butter. And she was very right because, if you don't have a knowledge of Materia Medica, your knowledge of diagnosis, your knowledge of surgery, gynecology, everything is incomplete because you have to apply your Materia Medica knowledge and you have to select the remedy. There's no excuse, there's no shortcut. You have to read up on all your drugs, and you have to be thorough in that. So, if there are no more further details, I'm sorry for today's rush. We'll take the future classes a little more in detail, in a little more, in a more leisurely way. But today we have to also move on to the next presentation, which is at 7:30. So I apologize for today's rush. It won't happen again from next week. I hope you all got some, gained a little bit more of knowledge and information from today's session. And any further queries, please do write to us. Please do get in touch with us. And we'll be having from next week, we'll be starting any one particular remedy we'll be starting with, and we'll be dealing with it in detail. And do let us know any more suggestions, any more topics that you'd like covered. You can write to me and you can let us know. So that will be all. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Vijay Lakshmi.
Thank
See
you,
you
ma'am.
next week
Thank you so much,
and
ma'am.
hope you all attend. Yeah, we will give you an update on what next week's drug will be, which we will deal with in detail. And Vijay Lakshmi, if possible, also mention the source books that you have made your notes from in your slide at the end, like a bibliography.
Okay, ma'am.
All right. So thank you, everyone. Good night. See you next week.